What's going on, y'all? It's your host, Will, coming back for a new episode of the HuntStand podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be bringing on Mr. Keith Bean. Now, for those of you that may or may not know Keith, we're going to get his story on here, get his background on here, but primarily, we're going to be talking to Keith about something that he had a pretty big hand in back in the day. Now, what we know today as the pop-up blind or the hub blind, Keith had a pretty big hand in being one of the first folks to bring that style of blind to the outdoors, to the outdoor industry, to the hunters, all of us. So we're going to get Keith on here, talk about that, talk about a story. We'll go down a couple rabbit holes as well. That's what we always do here on the HuntStand podcast. And so, again, y'all, we just want to thank y'all for tuning in to the HuntStand podcast. You got lots of different options out there. We really appreciate all the support we've gotten from everybody so far, and all the listens and downloads has been amazing. We know the holidays are here. Christmas is coming up, so we just want to wish all of you from the HuntStand family a very Merry Christmas to you and your family. And so, again, y'all, just want to thank you for the support. And here's our man, Keith Bean. All right, everybody. Well, we want to welcome you back to another episode of the HuntStand podcast. And on today's episode, we got Mr. Keith Beam on here, and we're going to dive into his story a little bit. And I'm going to let him tell it. I'm not going to tell it because he can do a much better job than I can. But Keith, welcome to the podcast, man.
Well, thank you. I do have a face for radio, so this is perfect.
Hey, I've been told the same thing since I was a kid. So, Keith, man, one of the things I like to do to get all of our podcasts started is I like for the guest to give the listeners a little bit of a background story on yourself, and I call it, giving us that 30-foot tree stand view of who you are. So, kind of give us that, that 30,000-foot view, if you will. Kind of tell us who you are, where you're from, and kind of how you've gotten to where you are in life now.
All right. It's a crazy route. I come from a very outdoors family, 2 older brothers and an Army Ranger father and a real outdoors mom, and went to college to play baseball, play pro baseball. When I got injured in baseball and I had to resign or do involuntary retirement, I went back to school, finished up, started working for a company called W.W. Granger right out of college. Met Brooks Johnson, who became my business partner at Double Bull Archery. And him and I started playing around with dart targets. See, everybody thinks Double Bull Archery was originally the hunting blinds. And even though that's their mainstay, the Double Bull actually came from him and I playing all the games of cricket and 301 with our recurves on these paper dart targets. And we kind of built those and we were selling those. Well, I ran into this older gentleman by the name of Steve Stumbo, and it was in Colorado in probably 1991.
Okay.
And I had been chasing turkeys with my recurve along the river bottoms in Nebraska because they give you that 3-week archery season. I had been chasing it with my recurve, some success, not very much, getting busted a lot. And at that time, back in 1992, actually like 91, 92, there was not any real true commercial ground blinds. There was one by a guy out in Iowa who carries the first name Keith, as I do. It's really ironic. He had a blind that you threw this barge rope up over a limb. You pulled this big, big, big piece of fabric dome, and you put all these fiberglass rods in it. You couldn't move it. It didn't pop up or pop down. I mean, you were there for a long time. But I ended up killing my first 2 turkeys out of that blind. And I was telling Brooks, I was out in Fort Collins, Colorado, and Brooks was back in Minneapolis where we started working at Granger. And I said, I really want to design a ground blind. And we played around with the spring steel blinds long before even Ameristep was Ameristep. And I met that Steve Stumbo at an archery shop in Fort Collins. And he showed me a hub prototype, the hub. It was whittled out of wood, had 38 casings for its ferrules, and had balsa wood dowel rods. And I realized right then and there that this might make a very, very fast setup structure. And we bought the patent rights off of him, or paid him royalties and bought those off of him for all those years. But lo and behold, that's what started Double Bull Archery. And it started in Colorado. It moved to Minnesota in 1997. And in 2007, Brooks and I sold it to Primos Hunting Calls, We were a sponsor of their show, and they were a sponsor of our television show. That was back when the Men's Channel was there and the Sportsman. We had Double Bull Outdoors. So we sold to Primos. We came over onto Primos' side. I ran around the country with those guys for many years. I became the executive producer of Jay Gregory's Wild Outdoors also during that time frame. And then I launched a kids book line called Drake's Adventures, and that's that interactive sound book. And that was in 2015. I chased that little avenue there. And in 2017, I designed a couple new broadheads, presented them to New Archery Products in Forest Park, Illinois. And I went to work for them full time. And GSM acquired New Archery Products. So in 2017, I came over to the GSM umbrella, which was really fun because my first business card had 7 brands on the back of it. And now I believe there's 65 logos on it. And that's just from 2017 till now. So I was giving you more like the 3,000-foot look. And then all of a sudden I got tied up with GSM, and it was like we pointed straight up in the sky and we took Artemis north.
Hey, yeah. That's what podcasts are for, man. We can go down rabbit holes, and we can do that if we want. There's no set schedule on these things. That's what I like about podcasting.
No, it's great. I mean, it's been an absolute crazy thing. And now I really do most of the cold steel videos. I get to work with Lynn Thompson. I was never a knife person. I had one little custom hunting knife I carried my whole life. My old knife maker made for me a long, long time ago. And now, after training with Lynn and being a part of the Cold Steel family, I get to demonstrate how mean those products are, but how useful they are, and have a lot of fun doing it. So I can't even tell you, it's not really a full circle. It's like I'm just done this gigantic arc, and inside that arc is most of your outdoors hub.
Yep.
So
that's pretty cool, man. And how old are you now? 29?
Yes. 57.
Really?
58. Yeah, I'll turn 58. This is my, I want to say, let's see, I think this is my 31st year in the hunting industry as a career.
Okay. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, no, I know. I look 29.
There you go. So, man, one of the things I want to get you that I wanted to talk to you about was the hub style blinds and how they've revolutionized the way people hunt. I mean, I would say back when I was a kid, a lot of it was box blind hunting, tree stands, ladder stands, tripods. But then when these hub style blinds came out, I mean, tell us about the movement. And once y'all, after you've bought this patent and things just start going in motion, like tell us how that happened and just kind of what went down.
Well, it was really funny. We didn't know how to sew, neither Brooks nor I. And we hired a wonderful woman out there in Colorado to help us sew this prototype. And we were 2 divorcees because, well, we decided to chase double bull archery, which is the dart target thing, full blast. Well, neither of our wives really cared for that, being executive people from W.W. Granger, and then all of a sudden you're going to sell dart targets for $0.25. Neither of those marriages went well. So we actually lived in the back of an archery shop on 2 air mattresses. And it's on the back side of the shooting lanes. And this is no lie. We had running water was in the sink. And we would stand up on the toilet, dump a Pyrex jar of water over you and shower that way. We lived, Bruce and I actually lived, and this is no lie, lived off of tuna and rice for about 2 years. We finally had enough money. We could join a health club there, and we could work out 7 days a week, so we could shower 7 days a week. But we spent 18 months in the back of an archery shop fabricating blinds one at a time.
How old were you?
I was 30 years old.
Man.
And Brooks was 28. Like I said, both divorcees, and it was actually probably if I look back on it now, one of the greatest experiences in the world, because we went from being execs at Granger, having money, having a nice house, nice vehicle, so on and so forth, to absolutely learning how to shoot a recurve so well you could bet people in the archery shop, these compound shooters, and you would bet them who could hit the head on the dollar bill down there 20 yards to win money. And that's how we paid for our life. And it was really fun. And it hadn't really grown. It was just like we'd sell one, we'd get another one, we'd start another one, we'd sell it. Okay. And it wasn't like we could ever start any kind of production, and we could never buy fabric in any kind of big bulk because we didn't have the cash for it and we didn't have the orders for it.
Mm-hmm.
Brooks found a guy in Nebraska bow hunters, Archie Arndt, and he somehow or another talked Brooks into sending him one blind, and he took it to the Nebraska bow hunters banquet. And we got a phone call on Sunday night, and it was Archie. And he said, I sold 27 of these blinds. And we were like, it takes us like a day and a half to sew one. And these are all, and this is in March, okay, March 3rd. And their season starts March 27th for archery. So we had to scramble, find fabric, borrow money, beg money. We borrowed money off of everybody in the world. We took credit cards and maxed them out on our own credit card machine just so we could deposit money in the bank so we could buy fabric. And it was this crazy thing that we got some people sewing with us, and we actually got all those orders out. Of course, when those orders got out, that was the first pop-up commercial ground blind. And people waylaid the daylights out of turkeys. And that just started the ball rolling. We moved the business to Minnesota. And when we did that, we leased a place and we outgrew it. We leased another place, outgrew it. We built a building or bought a building and basically outgrew that. It was probably the fastest growing segment. If you were to put kind of a comparison to it, if you think about like when Matthew's solo cam took off, that was us. It was every year we were growing at 100% or 65% was the lowest we ever grew.
Wow.
Okay. You're talking about numbers that just were astronomical. And we had to get tied up with a big capital company and a company that we trusted. And Primos was that. So we finally sold to Will. He'd been trying to buy us for a few years, but we finally sold, and they took over that. So it was absolutely crazy how we look at what you've got today and you look at how simple things are. And we always say it's getting complicated and we're so busy and blah, blah, blah. And we are. We go 100 miles an hour, but we're our own problem.
Yeah. I
remember staying on an air mattress with no TV and a Pyrex jar. We had a 2-quart Pyrex jar, 1 minute rice, and a stack of tuna and pepper. We had pepper. And we survived off of that until this thing got going. And it's crazy.
What made, you're working at this job where you're saying, you've got the money, you got the car, you got the house, where and when did you decide to just change all of that and do this? Like, that's a big jump. That's a big risk. How did you know to do it?
Well, it was a very interesting thing, and I don't mean to play to people's heartstrings. That last year of W.W. Granger, my son died, and my only child, he died of cancer. And so I'm sitting there not really understanding the world as it was. My heart and soul were into shooting my recurve. And here was this giant company I was working for, and I just kind of felt like, F it, I'm going to do this. And we started the dart targets while we were still just finishing Granger, I guess.
Yeah.
And Brooks and I both left and said, let's go for it. Once I met Steve with this hub idea, and we were going to sell dart targets and try to get this blind thing going. But it was, both of us were just tired of what was there as far as the corporate world. And they were a great company to work for, a fantastic company to work for. But we both wanted to, it's like people that love to fish, you want to fish.
Yeah.
And everybody wishes they could fish for money. And I mean, there's a lot of country songs written about it. And it's one of those things that we didn't know how we were going to do it, but damn it, Brooks and I together were going to make a living out of a hunting blind and dart target company.
And y'all did exactly that.
Oh, it was a trying state of affairs. We went from having two vehicles, nice vehicles, to we sold those. We bought a 1977 four-wheel drive, full-time four-wheel drive Suburban that was like solid steel. And it had like a 454 in it, and it got like 4 miles a gallon, but we paid $500 for it. And believe it or not, we drove that thing. We shared it. We drove that thing for the first 3 years. In fact, we drove it from Fort Collins, Colorado, down to Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas for the Texas Trophy Hunter shows. Had no air conditioning in it. And you're in those three communities in the summer, which is always nice in a big hot vehicle. And we had a load of blinds in the back, and we drove around and sold them.
Man, y'all were hustling them, man. Y'all are getting them out the door.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's if you were shy about anything by the time we came out of our 18-month adventure living on air mattresses, those days were over.
All right, y'all, we are going to interrupt this podcast from a quick word from our sponsors. The HuntStand podcast is brought to you by Yamaha and its full line of class-defining, adventure-seeking motorcycles, ATVs, and side-by-side vehicles. The HuntStand podcast is also brought to you by Springfield Armory, past, present, and future since 1794. All right, y'all, that's it from our sponsors, and we're going to get right back to this episode of the HuntStand podcast. Yeah. You know, I want to back up just a little bit. You know, you had a very tragic event happen in your life, man, and I'm terribly sorry to hear about that. You know, I couldn't imagine. And so, you know, you have this happen in your life, and you know, I think everybody has a lot of things that happen to them. You know, nobody's is more serious than the others. You know, or nobody's is better than the others. You know, everybody has their own things that they go through, but you had that happen, and then, you know, what kept you from just stopping, you know, just going through the everyday motions, and, you know, what kept you from doing that and then just waking up and saying like you did, you know, F it, let's do this?
Well, I think you hit it right on the nose. I think when you said what kept you from stopping it, that's really truly what stopped it. It was Karen, my wife at that time, when Ellis died, we just decided after his burial service, we decided just to drive and take off. And we drove through the Badlands of South Dakota, through the Black Hills, everywhere. We just drove. And I think it was then that I realized that my love for the outdoors, my brothers were giant waterfowl and pheasant hunters. My dad was. I didn't really take up bow hunting until college, but we were always outside. And, you know, baseball was supposed to be my career, and it would have been had I not had stress fractures in my legs. But I had to be outside. And it's one of those things that I think when my son died, it became very apparent to me that you get one shot. And, you know, at that time, you know, I didn't have other children, and it was, you know, whatever, I could leave and try other things. And I was young enough, I could try other things. And I think it was that time that I said, F it, I'm going after this. I'm doing something out here. And I think it was on that drive that I recall it. In fact, we stopped, I can't remember where it's at, South Dakota. Terry Redland's Fins and Feathers Art Gallery or whatever. I can't remember the name of it. It was a whole bunch of years ago. But it was out there, and I remember looking at these paintings and you know, been hunting with my brother in North Dakota, goose hunting probably for 10 or 15 years by that time. He was a full-time waterfowl guide up in North Dakota. So he chased them through North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas. And then when they offered the spring season, backwards and came up. So I hunted with my brother so much, it was frightening. And it was just one of those things that I had to breathe fresh air. And I think being a cubicle boy or a branch manager, a regional manager, and flying around in a jet and always sitting inside, just wasn't going to cut it for me.
What do you say to the guy that is going through something in their life right now that, they're kind of on that teeter-totter line, that, they're on the edge of like, man, I've got something that I'm really good at in life, or something that I'm passionate about, and I can't do it. I don't know what to do. Like, what do you say to that guy?
Well, I think Warren Buffett, and you can look at Zig Ziglar, you can look at a lot of these people that are super, super successful. Find something that you love or like a lot, and give it your all. Now, you might change careers, you might do things, but if you do not take a risk, and I'm not telling everybody that comes up with a brainiac idea to do it, you got to understand, we timed it perfectly. There might have been one commercial ground blind on the market. There was none in Cabela's or Bass Pro. So we were the first commercial ground blind. So that tells you how timing is everything. It was very easy for us to explode. I mean, and nobody could catch us. We were innovative. We were bow hunters, and are bow hunters. We didn't worry about gun hunting because we knew if you can bow hunt out of it, you could gun hunt out of it. But we developed patterns, we developed designs, we did things that didn't spook deer. We figured out a lot of things, and we listened to a lot of people. Everybody from Jay Gregory to whoever, Jim Miller down in Texas, and we truly listened to these people that are very well respected. And it was one of those things that we learned a lot, and it was one that I won't trade for anything. In fact, I love it if somebody wrote a book about our story, because it's absolutely a crazy, crazy journey. But if you've got an idea and it's real, and don't ask your friends and don't ask your family members if they think it's a good idea, take it to a group of people you don't know and do your elevator pitch, I guess you would say. Okay, you're sitting in an elevator, you meet three people, and you've got 2 floors to explain the idea to them. Explain the idea to them and see if they bite on it. And if they do some more elevator pitches to people you don't know. But people that are in the industry, that's fine. But people you don't know, because the worst thing that you can ever have happen, and it kind of happened with the kids' book, is everybody around me loved it. And everybody that bought the books loved it as well. But nobody tried to talk me out of it. And it ended up costing me about $750,000 in loss. Yeah, it cost me a farm. Sell a house, things like that, just so that you didn't go bankrupt and you paid off your debt like you're supposed to do. So, I did that. But you've got to ask people if you have an idea. And I get people calling all the time, like, hey, I got this great idea and this and this. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just do that? And I'm not trying to be a dink to them.
Yeah.
I'm just, I see something. I'm very creative. I have my name on a whole gob of patents. And I can see when things make sense, and I can go, holy cow, that's a great idea. And I get calls a lot, and I feel like sometimes I'm a jerk, but I don't ever mean to be. My dad always taught me to be a very kind human. And it's one of those things that's just true with me. So when I go, this isn't going to work, you're not going to sell very many of these. But I don't have all the answers. And that's why you have to ask people. A very good friend of mine has a product that goes off the side of the boat that you can put a camera on, so it'll run right alongside your trolling motor, and you can see it.
Really?
I would have bet that it wouldn't sell. That man can't keep them in stock. He can't find enough people to help him build them. So, my barometer is not always the right one. But I wasn't in the fishing industry, and he was. And he's light up. So nobody can really take you away from your dream. But if you don't dip your foot in it or try it, you're going to live with regret.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. I know. I don't think I've told this story much, but, I had a little bit of a stint in the outdoor industry myself, working for Wade Middleton back in the day. Then I kind of took a little jog to the right. I was young enough to test stuff, and then came back and worked in an archery shop for a little bit, managing an archery shop. And I tell my wife to this day, I let a customer talk me out of managing that archery shop into selling windows. Don't ask me what made me do it, but I did it. And I have told her, I've told her to this day, I said, if I wouldn't have taken that chance of doing something different, I may not have ever left that archery shop to lead me to my path where I am now.
Right. Yep.
And
Well, that's just it. People are always scared to dip that foot outside the box, and it's like this cold steel world. Eddie and Ben were kind enough when I interviewed with them when they procured NEP or new archery products to give me a chance and get me on board. And it was through that we did all kinds of content creation. I think I told you, I really truly work for all the brands.
Yeah.
And when we purchased Cold Steel, Lynn Thompson has this YouTube page that's 1.1 million subscribers, and these guys are crazy, great sword knife fanatics that have a love for steel, and they understand it. It's the Forge of Fire people, and Lynn has built this gigantic following. So when I had an opportunity to go out and train with Lynn, who's like an 8-time world champion hand-to-hand combat fighter in the Philippines, I mean, Lynn Thompson, Ron Balicki, and Luke LaFontaine, those 3 guys I got to meet out there, are the quietest people that you'd ever meet and probably the meanest you'll ever sit around. And in all fairness, I mean, frighteningly scary. But they took me in their wings and they taught me, and I learned all about steel, and I learned about handles, and I learned about different blade styles and shapes and why it was designed that way. And, I'm 57 and I started with Cold Steel when I was 55. So this is my second year, and it's teaching an old dog lots of new tricks, which is a blast to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's super key. But yeah, like you said, I think a lot of people they have to not be afraid to dip that toe outside the box and just go. So, well, Keith,
that's yes.
What kind of hunt you been doing this year, man? Like, tell us. I'm interested to hear. Like, you've been bow hunting a lot, deer hunting. Let's hear how your deer hunting action is right now, man.
I went out to Wyoming, 25 years, 24 years. I've hunted with Nelson Outfitters, one of my very dearest friends and family members, basically. Great place to deer hunt. Got it out there, and there is a disease, and they can't classify it CWD, and they can't classify it EHD because what's dying looks healthy, which takes away from the quote unquote CWD. Mm-hmm. But the EHD, usually when deer die, buzzards don't eat it, coyotes don't eat it, and these deer are getting eaten. So they don't have an answer for it. Anyhow, right before my eyes, there was probably 2,000 deer on the 100,000 acres that Dave had irrigated alfalfa. They come off the foothills. And by the time I left, there was like 47. The 5 deer that we were targeting, Dave spotted 4 of them dead on my last night out there. And I left there, first time unsuccessful. And I, talked to the DNR, and I've done the survey, and I've done this, and they had an emergency meeting out there because your outfitters and your guys, it's happening all over.
Yeah. You
used to Sheridan, Wyoming, and you would see turkeys, and you would see deer, and you see young mule deer bedded under people's trucks in the shade. There's none. There's no deer. There's no turkeys. And it was frightening, and it really is scary. It just goes to show you that Mother Nature is a bitch, and when she wants to control things, she will. Mm-hmm. But that's how my season started. Thankfully, Dave Nelson's son, Steve Nelson, purchased the Valley Meat Company, so I was able to take all the Cold Steel commercial knives out there and show them our line, which they fell in love with, videotape, and get a lot of great footage of, how it is processing 8,000 pounds of beef a day. So it was a blessing for Cold Steel. And then after that, I've hunted a few days in Wisconsin. I did just get back from Texas down at McRae Outdoors.
Okay.
Kenny McRae was the best man in my wedding. I've hunted with him for about 25 years also. I got to go down there, and I killed a really nice 10-pointer.
I saw that.
It was a fun cat and mouse game. In Texas, you hunt feeders, all right? And I don't going to catch grief from anybody. I love it. I think it's great. Face the feeder. Don't be afraid of it. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things. It's how you hunt them down there. It's how you hunt bears, and you bait bears up in Canada. Who cares?
Yep.
It's legal, and it's ethical, and that's how they do it. But we played cat and mouse because of a north wind for 3 or 4 nights, trying to get in front of this deer that was going from feed location to feed location to feed location, running up and down this river bottom. The rut was in full pre-rut. They're chasing everywhere. Okay, so deer weren't like lining up to the feeders. In fact, my wife hunted 3 days. I hunted one night. So in that 6-7 sets, we probably had 5 deer, 7 deer come to the feeder.
Wow.
Okay, they'd show up near it, and the little bucks would chase them off and stuff like that. It was crazy.
Yep.
But we played cat and mouse, and I was finally able to take a hub style blind because of a very strong north wind and pop it up next to this old rag blind that was there and hunt a north wind. And Kenny filmed him, and I filmed him. But Kenny was up in one of the muddy towers, and he filmed him from like 600 yards away, chasing these 2 does, and they just worked their way over. And he came up and took over this whole area and ran everything off and gave me a great shot. And it was really, really kind of a fun, like I met the challenge for Texas and being able to set a blind up same day, hunt it the same day. Well, I set it up that night before and, hunt it within 24 hours, not brushing it in, just playing the wind right. Everything just unfolded perfectly. So that's all the hunting I've done so far. I do have Wisconsin season, but right now we are in the gun season there, and I have lots of editing to do. So
I'm right there with you, brother. Just right there with you. We got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, so excited about that. So, well, man, I know we're running out of time here, and so I like to close off each of these episodes. For the sake of this episode, we've talked about your story, how you took a chance, how you took a risk, and it ended up being a great, rewarding risk. Like it rewarded you in the end. And so, what I like for the guest to do is to kind of leave a listener with that one last golden nugget in pertaining to that. So, what's that last piece of advice you have for the listeners out there that are looking for something in their life to change, or they are trying to go after something themselves? They don't have the courage to do it yet.
I think everybody wants to live a full life. My family is a little bit different. We want to live life to the fullest. And that, I think if you take that away and you ponder that, which I just said, it'll make a lot of sense to you. And I learned that from my oldest brother, and he gave it all he had all the time and never looked back. Love people, treat them with respect, ask for respect, demand respect, and be kind to people. But seriously, live life to the fullest. Don't worry about living 100 years old.
Those are some great words to end it on, man. Great words. Keith, appreciate your time today and hopping on the HuntStand podcast. You got an Instagram or anything that people can find you at?
I don't know any of my social media, so I'm sorry.
No worries, man. No worries there. Well, Keith, brother.
I'm going to get fired for that.
No, that's awesome. Won't. No, you won't. Well, Keith, brother, man, I really appreciate you hopping on the HuntStand podcast today.
Godspeed. Take care.
All right, y'all, there you go. Another good episode. We got Mr. Keith Beam on here to talk about the hub style blind or the pop-up blind, his story, background, rabbit holes. We did it all on today's episode. And again, y'all, if you haven't downloaded the HuntStand app, make sure you do. We've got a free version. We got the pro version. And if you want to unlock all the tools and features, make sure you upgrade to Pro Whitetail today if you haven't. And again, y'all, we just want to thank y'all for tuning into the HuntStand podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.